The Young and the Uneasy, according to previews for next week's October 12 to 16. Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, promises that Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, will regret the day he betrayed him. Also, next week on Bly and R, Elena Dawson, Brittany Sarpy, is barely surviving. Watch what occurs during the day on CBS. Remember how Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, recently underwent surgery to treat her cancer? Although she is experiencing the physical trauma's aftereffects, the test findings are what count. There is still more to come, but next week on Bly and R, the test results will show whether the surgery was successful. According to Young and the Restless spoilers, Sharon still has a long journey ahead of her, filled with radiation and chemotherapy. Faith Newman, Olivia Allen Lind, who has been scarred by Billy Abbott's war on Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, is the last thing she needs. It will undoubtedly benefit Sharon, as well, if Victor Newman stops him. Viewers of Young and the Restless are aware that when Michelle Stafford's character Phyllis Summers bought Abby Newman, Melissa Ordway, out of the Grand Phoenix, she danced with delight. Then, a minute later, Amelia Heinel's character, Victoria Newman, is preoccupied. For that, Phyllis intends to destroy Vicky. According to Young and the Restless teasers, watch as Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, finds himself torn between them. Vicky has been cruel and unrepentant lately, so this might be more than he can take. Will Victoria suffer consequences for expressing Victor's worst sides on the CBS serial opera? The saga of Dina Murgeron, Marla Adams, comes to a close in this week's I and R spoilers. She will die quietly as her fight with Alzheimer's draws to a close. But first, Lauren Fenmore, Tracy E. Bregman, assists Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, in obtaining the necklace she mentioned. Check to discover if Marla Adams was present on set for Dina's last scenes, or if off-scene references were used in her exit. Fans of Young and the Restless will be upset if the actress's quarantine problems prevented her from concluding her tenure on the CBS soap opera in person. We shall see. Victor Newman and Billy Abbott are at each other's throats in the upcoming episodes of Young and the Restless. Victor attempted to overthrow Billy using quite tactful means. He pressured Vicky to repurchase the media section and threatened Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil. Victor Newman falls farther as neither succeeds. Recall from the past of Young and the Restless that Billy harmed his granddaughter with his obscene lie, and Victor has criminal connections he can use. Does Victor Newman pose a threat to Billy Abbott? Victor soon takes extreme action to defend Adam and stop Billy, but how far will he go? According to Y and R teasers for the upcoming week, David Hamilton, Brighton James, is worried about Elena since she is disintegrating in front of him. He will call in Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, who is frightened that Devin is aware of their infidelity. However, Devin hasn't yet connected the dots. Elena is prepared to admit what they did on Young and the Restless until Nate informs her that Devin is worried about her. Nate fears but acknowledges the impulse. Devin won't speak to him ever again. However, you never know because Devin is a kind and forgiving man. In Genoa City, the quiet before the storm is officially ended. The Young and the Restless is setting off a chain reaction of emotional outbursts that will affect every relationship, business, and heart. The iconic Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, who is once again demonstrating that no one plays the game quite like the mustache, is at the heart of it all. His most recent victim? Jason Thompson plays Billy Abbott, a man who never knows when to give up. Elena Dawson, Brittany Sarpy, meantime, has to confront her own reality as her meticulously planned existence starts to fall apart. She is on the verge of experiencing her most severe emotional breakdown to date due to heartbreak, betrayal, and frantic attempts to start again. Hold on tight, for the upcoming 2 weeks of The Young and the Restless will be a roller coaster of passion, manipulation, and startling outcomes that will completely alter the balance of power in Genoa City. Victor Newman is a strategist who detonates threats rather than making idle ones. Chancellor Winters and Newman Enterprises have been at odds for months, and Victor has finally had enough of Billy Abbott. Victor has gone into full vengeance mode as a result of Billy's interference in Newman affairs and his more audacious attempts to outsmart Adam Newman, Mark Grossman. Billy's revelation of private information from a Newman media piece, intended to damage Adam's reputation, and improve his own standing at Chancellor Winters is the final straw. Billy is unaware that Victor has always been a few steps ahead of him. Victor gathers evidence covertly, devises a flawless plan, and executes a precise attack in a quintessential lie and R power move. He convenes an urgent news conference and reveals Billy's involvement in the leak, along with insider emails, financial documents, and a terrifying illustration of his reach. The consequences are severe and instantaneous. Chancellor Winters suffers a serious setback, Billy's standing in the business community is severely damaged, and Jill Abbott, Jess Walton, becomes enraged and demands explanations. With two titans engaged in combat, motivated by pride, legacy, and decades of personal hostility, the setting is one of sheer fire. However, Victor's triumph might not be as straightforward as he believes. Behind the scenes, Adam, Nick, and Victoria all have different perspectives on their father's callous action, and they don't all agree. Following Victor's firebombing, the Newman family starts to fall apart once more. At first, Victoria, Amelia Heil, agrees with her father's resolute move, but considering their complex romantic history, she questions the morality of publicly humiliating Billy. Billy snaps, accusing her of supporting Victor to preserve her own reputation, which makes her feel even more guilty. Conversely, Nick, Joshua Morrow, is enraged. At Newman Towers, he confronts Victor and charges him with having a control obsession instead of a family obsession. Adam, however, is the greatest wild card. He ought to be celebrating on paper. Billy's demise paves the way for him to assume complete command of Newman Media. In typical Adam form, though, the triumph seems pointless. Billy, a man who constantly falling because no one ever lets him soar, reminds him of himself. By the end of the week, Adam unexpectedly visits Billy and makes what appears to be an apology. Billy, who is still in shock and half drunk, doesn't think it's true, but the encounter sows a startling seed of empathy between two bitter adversaries. Billy starts to fall apart after getting fired from important projects and made fun of in the media. His confidence, which is usually brittle, suffers greatly. His relationship with Chelsea Lawson, played by Melissa Claire Egan, suffers as a result of Jill's tough love style, which only makes matters worse. In an attempt to console him, Chelsea advises him to put more effort into repairing his career than taking revenge. Billy, however, feels humiliated and enraged and is unable to let it go. In a perilous resurgence of his old demons, he begins drinking once more, telling himself he can manage it. In one poignant scene, Billy mutters, "Maybe Victor's right," as he looks into the mirror at society's bar. "I might be my own worst enemy after all." When Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, who knows Billy better than anyone else, learns that he has been avoiding social situations and skipping meetings, she starts to worry. Believing that everyone is against him, he dismisses her when she reaches out. Billy makes the startling decision to resign from Chancellor Winters completely at the end of the week, promising to go rogue. It's unclear where he will go next, but supporters can anticipate mayhem. Elena Dawson, Brittany Sarpy, is dealing with a considerably more subdued, yet no less catastrophic, implosion while the Abbotts and Newmans are engaged in combat. Elena's barriers eventually come down after months of battling to maintain a balance between her love, job, and mental health. She's been on fumes ever since she decided to concentrate on her medical career after splitting with Nate Hastings, seeing Dominic. Elena appears to be doing well at first. She volunteers, works long shifts at the hospital, and assists patients. She is emotionally empty on the inside, though. She is still plagued by the consequences of Nate's betrayal and her failed relationship with Devon. The sudden death of a young patient throws her over the brink. She replays all of her decisions in her mind and places the blame on herself. In this unvarnished and devastating scene, Elena breaks down in the on-call room while sobbing uncontrollably and gripping her stethoscope. It is really emotional when they reunite. Devon tries to reassure her by telling her that she is not defined by one mistake. Finally, tired, Elena confesses, "Devon, I don't even know who I am anymore. Despite my best efforts to assist others, I am unable to assist myself." Devon advises her to take some time off to recuperate, but Elena is adamant about continuing. Disaster results from that choice. Elena travels to Chicago for a medical conference later in the week. She is obviously ill. She is sleep-deprived, agitated, and dependent on caffeine. She dismisses a co-worker's remark that she appears pale. During a presentation, however, the room begins to spin. She passes out in the middle of a sentence as her eyesight becomes fuzzy. As paramedics arrive, the crowd rushes to aid, and in a terrifying irony, the doctor ends up becoming the patient. News travels fast back in Genoa City. With remorse on their faces, Devon and Nate both run to her side. Nate is especially upset because he still loves her a lot, even if they are no longer together. His calmness breaks when he finds her on the hospital bed, unconscious. Elena is feeble but alive when she finally awakens. The diagnosis? Dehydration and extreme fatigue are the physical results of months of mental stress. She is forced by the experience to reassess everything, including her relationships, profession, and priorities. By the end of the week, she makes the audacious choice to take a leave of absence from the hospital and temporarily leave Genoa City in order to rediscover herself. Her farewell passages are exquisitely composed. "Don't disappear, okay?" Devon whispers as he gives her a strong hug. "Maybe I need to, just for a little while, to find the parts of me I lost." She responds with a small smile. In the meantime, Nate mulls over whether it's time to make amends or if he's already gone too far. Played by both Elena's collapse and his own concessions. More than tragedy and power struggles, the upcoming episode of The Young and the Restless is about consequences catching up. Even though Victor may have won his battle with Billy, his family's togetherness may suffer more than he ever imagined. Billy's decline in popularity seems fleeting, but it also has a profound impact. This time, self-reflection, which he has long shunned, may be the key to his redemption rather than romance or business. Additionally, those Elena has touched feel a silent pain when she leaves. Her experience serves as a reminder that when people attempt to bear too much on their own, even the strongest individuals can break down.